The fiery redfin swims carefree in the clear water of the mountain stream, oblivious to the dangers which surround it. Its brightly colored fins flash defiantly in the morning sunlight. Unbeknown to it, the threats posed by the larger fish, such as bass or yellowfish, or by humans, are small in comparison to the danger of gradual habitat destruction. High mountain streams of the southwestern Cape, South Africa, are the home of the fiery redfin. These streams are threatened by the rapid spread of invasive tree species. Invasive alien trees are growing in the valleys and on the mountains. These trees use the water before it gets to the rivers. As a result, streams which used to flow all year round are now flowing in winter only. As these streams dry up, the habitat of the fiery redfin is reduced and threatened. But this fish is not the only species under threat. The southern tip of South Africa has been described as one of the hottest hotspots of biodiversity. These rivers are home to all kinds of life, including many aquatic creatures which have adapted over thousands of years to their water environment. Plant diversity is so rich that botanists of the world acknowledge it as a floral kingdom of its own, on a par with the equatorial forests of this blue planet. South Africa has such rich plant and animal diversity that only 2 other countries in the world have more species. The variety of plants is complemented by the beauty of the environment. Steep mountain gorges are clothed with lush green indigenous forest and fynbos down to clear, deep duck rivers. A vast array of different plant species are found in the mountains, valleys, arid lands, and coastal plains. Associated with these plants are birds and insects which survive and flourish in a colorful world of flowers. The habitat of all these plants and creatures is threatened by invasive alien plants, and they could all disappear forever. The fate of all these species is linked to the fate of rivers in the Western Cape and the water supply to agriculture, towns and cities. To prevent their extinction as well as maintain the water supply to and from rivers, a concerted effort needs to be made to eliminate the invasive alien plants from the mountain catchment areas. Early estimates suggest that if nothing is done to address the problem of invasive alien plants, then the water supply to dams in South Africa will be reduced by between 30 and 100%. For every year that this is unchecked, the cost of clearing invasive alien plants will increase. Fire sweeps through the low-growing shrublands and grasslands of South Africa at irregular intervals. Plants have adapted to these fires, and many species thrive in the years after an area has been burnt. Humans, however, are not so adaptable, and fire can be devastating, particularly when raging through dense stands of alien vegetation. These fires are hotter and much more difficult to extinguish. The additional heat causes changes to the chemical and physical structure of the soil, creating worse soil erosion. Fire stimulates the germination of indigenous and invasive plant seeds. Vast numbers of these invasive plant seeds result in an impenetrable thicket of saplings which grow into a solid forest, smothering all indigenous plants beneath them. What has caused this spread of invasive alien plants? Many thousands of years ago, the continents were joined as the supercontinent Gondwanaland. Before the separation of the continents, plants evolved in isolation from each other. As these plants evolved, so did the insects, pests, and fungi which prey on them. So the natural populations of plants in these continents were kept in check by pests and pathogens which limited their spread. Over the last 300 years, with the advent of regular sea and air travel between continents, people have been responsible for spreading plants from one continent to the next. Although the plants have been transported, their natural enemies have often been left behind. In the absence of natural enemies and the presence of a suitable host environment, these invasive alien plants have flourished. Invasive plant species outcompete the natural plants for nutrients, water, and sunlight. This has resulted in the largest environmental threat to biodiversity after direct habitat destruction. To address this immense problem of invasive alien plants, the Department of Water Affairs and Forestry initiated the Working for Water program. This is a nationwide program which aims to clear catchments of invasive alien plants. Projects are underway from the mountains of the Western Cape to Bulwer in KwaZulu-Natal, to the Mpumalanga Escarpment and to Lake St. Lucia. Workers in the Cape Fynbos Working for Water program climb up the mountains, the habitat of the fiery redfin, where they're clearing invasive pine trees from the river zone. Pine plants were introduced as timber species from Europe and North America. The trees in commercial plantations are an important economic resource, but the plants which grow outside of these plantations have limited value and are little less than wind pumps which drive South Africa's most precious resource, water, into the sky before it reaches the river, the habitat of the fiery redfin, or the dams and our cities and farms. Employees on the Fynbos Working for Water program are all previously unemployed laborers from towns in the region. The program has brought hope to people who have been without work for many years. People who would have spent days at home in unemployment queues or turned to crime have got a reason for getting up in the mornings. They are learning skills, working hard and bringing home a much-needed paycheck. Whilst the majority of the workers on the Fynbos Working for Water program concentrate their efforts on the accessible lower slopes of the mountains, a well-trained team of clearers brave the heights of the peaks. A gut-wrenching ride in a helicopter starts the week for these clearers. They set up camp at high altitude. Tents are erected and provisions stored. High on the cold mountain peaks will be their home during the week. They are responsible for clearing trees which grow in the most distant nooks and crannies of the highest mountains. Safety is essential, and workers tie themselves in before lowering themselves from cliff faces to get access to pine trees which grow in these remote areas. A single pine tree left on a mountain peak could provide sufficient seed for a future forest. Before the teams are allowed to set foot in the high altitudes of the Western Cape Mountains, they are trained in a variety of skills. Training includes map reading, mountain survival, first aid, and teamwork. They train in the beautiful surrounds of Cape Point, honing their skills with games which build team spirit and cooperation. Games in the darkness of a blindfold encourage trust and reliance on fellow team members. To be able to put up a tent in the dark may mean the difference between life and death if caught on a cold mountain ledge. Doing it as fast as you can, blindfolded, is much more fun. The diverse shrublands of the mountains in the southwestern Cape are not the only environments threatened by invasive alien plants. In the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands, black wattle, introduced from Australia, is used for timber and for its bark, which is utilized in the tanning industry. Commercial exploitation of these plantations is important for the economy of these rural areas. However, the unchecked spread of invasive plants from these plantations and other sources poses a threat to the grasslands, natural forests, and water supply of KwaZulu-Natal. Around Bulwer, the rolling hills are covered in grasslands. The grassy vegetation prevents soil erosion, ensuring the release of good quality water into the streams and wetlands. Amongst the grass are the bright blooms of a variety of plants. In the fire-protected valleys, indigenous forests exhibit a wide diversity of trees, ferns, and shrubs. Clear water bubbles over the rocks and young seedlings and flows into the valley below, where it is the habitat for the spotted-necked otter. The endangered wattled crane, serval cat, and many other species thrive in the annual wetlands. Residents of Bulwer and the neighboring communities are addressing the problem of invasive alien plants. Early each morning, the tractor collects the workers from the village. Many of the workers are women who were previously never offered the chance of employment. This empowerment of rural people through skills development and employment has brought dramatic changes to the quality of life in the region. The early morning trip takes them to the site of clearing for the day. One group is working on a hillside. As they clear the black wattle and bugweed, the grassland in view in the distance becomes clear. Black wattle and most of the Australian acacias are tenacious plants which sprout vigorously from the cut stump. To prevent this, the cut stems are treated with environmentally friendly herbicides. The vast quantities of seed produced by these plants germinates after the mature plant has been felled. This follow-up operation in areas which have been cleared is very important, as dense stands of seedlings need to be pulled up by hand. Fortunately, the local vegetation is quite resilient and will return to areas which have been infested by alien plants. In some cases, however, there's a need to spread seed mixed with topsoil to encourage the growth of indigenous grasslands and to prevent erosion or alien plant growth. Another group of workers gets busy in the river valley. With each plant pulled out or cut down, the hidden river becomes more visible. These thirsty alien plants have limited economic value. Once they are removed and the natural plants return, the river will again sustain a variety of life and provide good quality drinking water for people downstream. To be able to work and earn income for the family has given these workers a sense of pride.
Vela kwale RDP ngikutholile ukusizakala ngoba bengingakwazi ukuziphilisa nengane zami futhi ngingakwazi ukuziphilisa ngingakwazi ukuzembeza. Ngokuthola kwami lo RDP ubonile umehluko ngoba ngiyakwazi ukugqokisa ingane zami, ngiyakwazi ukunika ingane zami izidingo mazifuna into yokugqoka ngiyakwazi ukugqokisa. Nasendlini sengiyakuthenga ukudla ngiyadla futhi ngiyasutha.
Many of the women on the program are mothers of children too young to attend school. To enable mothers to work without worries about their young children's safety, creches have been established across the country to cater for the little ones. The Children's Day starts with a song and dance. There's time to draw and write before lunch. Washing of hands is a communal affair for these youngsters. Now for lunch. A hot meal is served to the children each day. The benefits of improved nutrition for these youngsters will be experienced in years ahead. Sometimes the lunch is just too hot to eat, but too delicious to resist. The women return home from work to prepare the evening fire-in meal. Collection of water and firewood used to be the most time-consuming chores in the lives of these women. The delivery of firewood to the villages from the Working for Water program has greatly reduced the arduous nature of this chore. This has given mothers time to spend with children and lead a better family life. Firewood for heating and cooking is only one of the direct byproducts of this program. In Mpumalanga, wood which is harvested from the project is turned into charcoal, which is used both locally and exported. Branches and stems are cut into lengths and packed into the charcoal kiln. The fire is started and vents are closed one by one to ensure a slow fire, which will produce good quality charcoal. Once the wood has turned to charcoal, the kiln is opened and charcoal unpacked and sent for grading and packaging. Wood for this viable business is harvested from non-plantation areas in the vast Mpumalanga forestry region. These areas in which timber plants have literally escaped from plantations are being cleared by the Working for Water program. In the early morning, the team of workers move off to the site for the day. With power saws, pangas, and painting of herbicides, they tackle the task of clearing invasive alien plants from the valleys and riverbeds. As in the Western Cape and KwaZulu-Natal, many of the people working for the program have been unemployed for long periods, and this work brings hope to their communities.
This work is very good for us. We stay a long time here at home without job, then we find now a good job. This job is very, very, very important to me, because the money which I'm getting here, it can help my house, help my children to go to school, and we're getting food, we are eating what we like. Then I see it's very, very better than the time I was living at home.
Although many jobs have been created directly in the clearing of invasive plants, these are not the only work opportunities. Transportation of workers to and from the work site has created employment. The buying power of the workers has increased and is encouraging the growth of small businesses. Once the shopping has been done, there's a taxi ride home.
Bye-bye, Timothy.
Under certain conditions, a fully grown eucalyptus tree can drink up to 200 liters of water per day. This water is drawn from the soil high in the upper catchment of rivers. Water which would normally be released into the rivers gradually is being pumped into the sky by hundreds of tree wind pumps. By removing these alien invasive trees, the program is ensuring that water is released into the rivers and not lost to the sky. The Kruger National Park, jewel in the crown of South Africa's national parks, is home to a wide diversity of plant and animal species. The nimble-mouthed kudu feeding on an acacia tree, herds of zebra and wildebeest. A troop of baboons and a wide variety of plants and birds all have their home in the park. The black rhino, which has been driven close to extinction, finds refuge in the park. Other rare species, such as the wild dog and cheetah, are found in the reserve. All these animals, from the largest elephant to the smallest dung beetle, require water for their survival. The source of many of Kruger Park's rivers lie high in the grasslands of the escarpment. High rainfall gathers in these grasslands and marshy areas. The water runs into the valleys, through the indigenous forests, and tumbles over cliffs, racing towards the park and the Indian Ocean beyond. On its way, this water is required by commercial forestry, irrigation, sugarcane, towns for municipal use, industry, and citrus farming. These rivers normally flow throughout the year, but even the Letaba River has ceased to flow at times during the winter, the dry season. This is cause for concern in the park. The rivers are its lifeblood, but their sources are not managed by the park authorities. This has had a dramatic effect not only on the park but on South Africa's neighbor, Mozambique. The park is also being infested by invasive alien plants such as the prickly pear from Central America. The seeds are eaten and spread by baboons, birds, and elephants. Lantana is also a threat to the biological diversity of the park. Upstream water use also affects the Greater St. Lucia wetland on the northern KwaZulu-Natal coastline. This world-recognized wetland contains a diversity of ecosystems and a myriad of life forms from mammals to invertebrates and plants.
Let us consider mechanism of life. Let us consider mechanism of life. Have you ever thought of your life? Nature plays a leading hero. Let us consider mechanism of life. Let us consider mechanism of life. Have you ever thought of your life? Nature plays a leading hero. Without nature, there is no life. Without nature, there is no life.
In the 1970s, because of reduced water flow, the salt levels of the lake rose to such an alarming extent it was feared that the populations of crocodile and hippopotamus would be irreparably damaged and may disappear forever. Sugarcane farming, dams, timber production, and numerous other uses of water all contribute to the problem of salinity. Clearing of invasive alien plants from the catchments which feed the Great Lake and adjacent hillsides will ensure that the water lost due to these trees will find its way into the system. The removal of seedlings and the use of herbicides to prevent regeneration of plants which have been felled is an essential part of the process. The herbicide is effective only on the plant and breaks down rapidly in the soil. It will not harm any animals, and the African rock python's habitat is not permanently disturbed.
Let us join hands in order to conserve quality life. Human beings.
The driving force behind this program is Professor Kara Asmal, Minister of Water Affairs and Forestry.
What we are trying to do in this program is to ensure that we conserve our natural resources and at the same time involve people in the renewal and the development of South Africa. We take into account the conservation of the environment and at the same time look at the social and economic bases for development and growth that combines all the features that we want in a free and democratic South Africa, where people themselves are involved in working out their own destiny.
Invasive alien plants have spread so rapidly that they pose one of the greatest threats to the survival of the water resources in this arid country. South Africans have begun to fight this threat with the most ambitious public works programs ever seen. The benefits of this program are vast, not only in terms of job creation and social improvement, but for the survival of the incredible natural beauty and diversity of South Africa.